Hi everyone, welcome to another repair tutorial. This time we're going to be looking at Galaxy Warriors and Fighters leg band replacement. You're going to need a few tools for this one: a heat gun, elastic cord, jeweler's pliers, sculpting tools, scissors, and some Q-tips. There are numerous hips that were produced over the years. Nobody wanted to do the glued-in straps that He-Man had used. We have the classic combo ball and socket junk that was used on various wrestlers. Then we also have the weird Ninja Turtle Remco knockoff hangers, and we have a weird Hoiba Hasbro Ninja E-type knockoff where they put arm-like joints in the legs just to keep production simple. For the Galaxy Fighters and Galaxy Warriors hips, there are elastic bands riveted into position, as we all know and hate. Some figures stand up really easily, and it's usually the ones that are in poor condition. The band on that figure was good, so I didn't want to cannibalize it. This figure is in good looking condition, but just cannot stand up at all. I thought maybe the leg band was twisted on this one, which sometimes causes the figures to flop around, but the band is actually not twisted and the figure is just unable to stand. The band is deteriorating or was overstretched when he was in a bin somewhere. I found that these sphere end tools work really well for pushing out rivets. You cannot push out the rivet until the leg is hot, so don't just try to smash it through. The elastic bands also break off inside the legs, as you can see, and it's very easy to remove that scrap material. Take the ball tool, push the elastic towards the corner of the socket, and feed the material out. For our first tutorial, we're not going to be removing the rivets, so we need to clean out these cavities so that we can thread new material around the original rivet. I struggle a little bit here and eventually use my pliers, but generally these slip out fairly easily. Here you can see the spacing on this other Sungold leg is a little different, with the rivet closer to the back of the leg. It's going to be harder to put elastic through there, but removing the band is actually easier because we have a larger opening in the front of the leg. So again, pushing the elastic band towards the corner with the pin tool allows me to remove it fairly easily. We're going to do our cheaper fix first, which doesn't require the use of a heat gun, but it's a little more tedious because we'll be threading elastic around the original aluminum rivet. I'm holding the elastic down with my thumb, keeping some slack pushed forward, which helps the cord find its way down and around. So I'm creating pressure on it and it's wanting to travel out of that socket. So we're going to use that same rethreading technique on these legs. We're just going to give them a yank. I know it looks brutal, but we can't use this cord on another figure, so it's not blasphemy to do this. It's much easier to remove this stuff when you're the first one here and the leg band hasn't broken. Pulling those bits of cord away, no problem. The hip post in there is very good, so no problems there. On this Sungold one, the post is missing, but it can be replaced with stock material, no problem. When you create the right shape, it will keystone itself into position. So on this later Sungold hip for a wrestler, you can see how thin the front is getting, and that's why I don't recommend an O-ring repair, because it's very easy to chip this area. You'll see on Turligang figures where that little dip is in the front, it's very prone to cracking. So again, we're going to go through like we did on that one example leg and thread these two legs very quickly using the smaller cord. Again, using my thumb to create a little ripple in the cord so that it wants to favor going down and up instead of being a pain in the neck. So just putting pressure on it so that it wants to come up and out, and then use my pliers to finish it off. So we'll thread over the top of that hip post, and then also make sure you're threading the leg properly so that the back thread is going to the back of the leg. I'm going to go actually from the back of the leg up and out. And the reason I'm doing that is because the opening is smaller in the back and larger in the front, so it's going to be easier for me to grab the thread and pull it out of the front. I cut a little 45-degree angle there to help the elastic make the turn as it's going through that cavity, and in this case I was able to get it through without even needing pliers. And you're just going to knot it 3 times. So like you're tying your shoelaces, you do that initial pass, and then we're going to do that same style crisscross knot, the classic cheap knot. Do it again a second time, and then a third time with this thinner cord. And you can pull really hard, just make it a tight knot. You don't want it to come undone, and the tighter you do it, the tighter the legs are going to be. So then off camera I snip a 1/4 inch away from the knot, and it just pops in over the top of that leg cavity, and you'd never know it's there. I was trying to break it here, it wouldn't break. It's a very strong repair. It's a little weird you can stretch the legs out, which some people may find unappealing. If you don't like the repair, well, we can easily undo it. This time around we're going to use 3mm cord, using about 10 inches of it to give ourselves enough material to pull on later on. It has many smaller elastic cords inside which should last for a while. I thought I would try to thread this through without removing the original rivets to see if it was possible to do this without heating and pushing the rivets away. It's really not possible. I had some success with using heat shrink tubing to kind of put a needle on the end of this fatter thread to pull it through the opening, but it really wasn't worth the time and effort when it's so easy to heat the rivets up and push them out of the way. Also, in the case of using this tool to try to push the fatter material through, it's very easy to potentially mar or bend the original rivet, which it just doesn't make sense to do that. So we should just heat it up, push the rivet out of the way instead of trying to jam this material past the rivet. And you can see later on, after all this work, the cord is just bottomed out and hasn't really traveled anywhere. It's not even close to making that turn. So I'm going to heat this leg up and push the rivet out. I did that off camera unfortunately for this one, but you'll see it again on the second leg. You don't want to push the rivet all the way out, just halfway out. So we're poking the material into that socket, keeping pressure on the rivet so that it will hopefully travel over that little U of the elastic band into the corresponding hole across the way. I thought maybe I could push this with a Q-tip and get it to go through, but the material had cooled off too quickly. The reason I wanted to use a Q-tip is so that it doesn't hurt the rivet head. I heat gunned this off camera and pushed it with a Q-tip, and the rivet popped right through no problem. The thicker band is really robust and very similar to the original band. So we go over that middle hip post, no problem, and then we're going to feed through to the corresponding side. I've heated the leg off cam, and you can see the rivet pushed out very easily. Pinch and poke the elastic band down in as far as we can get it, hopefully past the rivet. Again, pushing on the rivet and shoving the elastic cord out of the way simultaneously so it can travel to that second hole on the opposite side. Again, for some reason I thought I could push the rivet through with my hand because maybe the material was hot enough. Even when the material's hot enough, you can't do it with your hand. So get my finger out of the way while the heat gun's going for a few seconds, and then we'll try to push it through. Again, I use my hand here. You can't do it. So I grab a Q-tip and it one shove, two shove, and it pops right through, even with that rough factory end on the rivet. I'm pulling out the slack as much as I can, and we do the same thing where we're tying that first shoelace knot, bop, pull it really tight, and then we'll do another one over the top of that, and that's all that you need for this thicker cord. Just pull really tightly. All right, and then we snip it a 1/4 inch away from the knot, and it'll pop up inside of the hip and go away, and you will never see it. And in the case of this thicker cord, it's really strong. I used it on my Sungold wrestlers that had melted elastic bands, and it worked great. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay tuned for more Blacktub Bootlegs.